Have you ever wondered if that old coin in your pocket or collection could be worth a fortune? Some rare coins have sold for millions of dollars, making them some of the most valuable collectibles in the world. In this video, we'll explore the most valuable coins and what makes them worth so much. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss this. First up, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny without mint mark. This coin, in good condition with an intriguing color shade, is definitely one for collectors. Stick with me as we uncover its history, features, and most importantly, its value in today's market. Let's start by taking a close look at the coin itself. The 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny is part of the famous wheat cent series minted from 1909 to 1958. This coin features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse designed by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse, you'll see the familiar wheat stalks, which give the coin its nickname, Wheat Penny. What makes this specific coin particularly interesting is that it's a 1953 penny with no mint mark, indicating it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. While the mint mark was added to coins produced in other mints, Philadelphia coins didn't feature a mint mark until much later. So this penny is typical of those struck at the Philadelphia Mint during that era. Before we talk about value, let's take a quick look at the historical backdrop. The year 1953 was a post-World War II era, with the U.S. economy entering a period of growth and prosperity. People were carrying pennies like these in their pockets every day, unaware that decades later, collectors would be scouring for these very coins. The 1953 penny was part of the larger effort to produce affordable circulating currency for the booming American economy. While 1953 wasn't a year of massive economic turmoil like the 1930s, the coin itself is a reminder of a simpler time in American history. As with all coins from this period, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a reminder of the rich legacy of U.S. currency. Now let's talk about what makes this particular penny stand out. Its condition. The coin we're focusing on today is in good condition, which means it's seen some wear over the years, but still retains a lot of its defining features. On a good condition coin like this one, you'll see the details of Abraham Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks. Though they may be slightly worn down from circulation, coins in good condition usually show some light wear and tear, especially on high points like Lincoln's forehead and the tips of the wheat stalks. However, the overall design remains clear and recognizable. For collectors, the condition of the coin plays a huge role in its value, and a coin in good condition still has significant appeal. An interesting detail about this particular 1953 penny is its color shade. Over the years, some pennies develop unique color variations due to environmental factors like oxidation or exposure to different elements. A coin like this one with a subtle color shade, whether it's a slightly darker patina or a unique tone, can make it even more visually striking and desirable to certain collectors. Okay, so the big question: how much is a 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny worth today in good condition? Well, in today's market, you can typically expect to pay around $1,000 for a 1953 penny in good condition. While this may not be one of the highest value pennies out there, it's still a great find for collectors who focus on coins from the 1950s. The value of this penny is relatively modest compared to rarer dates, but there are still factors that could increase its value. If the coin has any unique errors, or if the color shade is particularly striking, it could fetch a higher price at auction. But as of now, this coin's value remains within the range of a few dollars. It's worth noting that if the coin were in higher grades, such as very fine or extremely fine, the price would increase significantly. So if you happen to find one of these in great condition, you're in luck. Now, if you're looking to add this coin to your collection, there are a few things to keep in mind. First, always purchase coins from reputable dealers, whether online or in person. Inspect the coin closely for condition, color shade, and any potential errors, as these could influence its value. When evaluating coins like the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny, remember that coins with vibrant, distinctive color tones tend to attract more interest from collectors. However, make sure to handle the coins carefully and store them properly to prevent any further wear or damage. The 1966 Washington Silver Quarter, with no mint mark, in damaged condition. Although it's not in pristine shape, it still carries some historical value. So what is this coin worth in today's market? Let's dive in and find out. The 1966 Washington quarter was minted during a time of economic change in the United States. The mid-60s were marked by the booming post-World War II economy and a growing push for civil rights. In fact, 1966 was a year when the U.S. Treasury was beginning to grapple with the rising costs of coin production. This particular quarter was issued with no mint mark, meaning it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. The Washington Quarter series had been in circulation since 1932, and the 1966 version continued the tradition of honoring George Washington, the first president of the United States. On the obverse, we see the iconic portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. His likeness has graced the quarter since the coin was first issued in 1932, and it remains one of the most recognizable portraits in American numismatics. On the reverse, the coin features an eagle, symbolizing strength and freedom. The eagle is clutching an olive branch and arrows, signifying peace and defense. The design has remained largely unchanged for decades, making the Washington quarter a staple in U.S. coinage. Now let's talk about the condition of this coin. This 1966 Washington silver quarter is in damaged condition, which means it shows signs of wear, scratches, discoloration, and possibly even some deep dents or gouges. Such damage usually occurs from circulation or mishandling over time. So what's the 1966 Washington silver quarter worth today in damaged condition? While the coin's value is lower due to the wear and damage, it's still valuable in the market. In damaged condition, this coin typically sells for $95,000. Keep in mind that damaged condition coins generally don't command the same premium as coins in higher grades, but they can still have some market value, especially if they are from a year or mint mark that's of interest to collectors. If this coin were in better condition, say extra fine or mint state, its value would be significantly higher, closer to $600 or more depending on the grade. But even with damage, this coin is still sought after by collectors who are looking to fill gaps in their collections. Even though this 1966 Washington silver quarter is in damaged condition, there are still collectors who find value in it. Some collectors are focused on completing a set of Washington quarters from various years, regardless of their condition. For others, the damage adds a story to the coin, showing how it was circulated and used. Next up, the 1937 Abraham Lincoln, wheat 1 cent, struck without a mint mark, in extra fine condition. This penny has a lot to offer, from its historical context to its value in today's market. Let's dive in. Let's take a closer look at the 1937 Lincoln wheat penny. As part of the famed wheat cent series, this coin features the beloved image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by artist Victor David Brenner. On the reverse, you'll find the iconic wheat stalks, which is why we call these wheat pennies. What makes this 1937 penny particularly interesting is that it was struck without mint mark. This means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, as coins from this mint typically did not carry a mint mark until much later. In 1937, pennies produced at other mints like Denver or San Francisco would have had their respective mint marks, but this one simply doesn't indicating it came from Philadelphia. Now, let's take a step back in time and explore the historical significance of this coin. The 1930s were a transformative decade for the United States. The Great Depression had impacted the economy in the early part of the decade, but by 1937, the nation was beginning to recover. The country's economy was on the upswing, and this penny was part of that journey. During this time, pennies like the 1937 Lincoln wheat penny were a common sight in everyday life. People were using these coins for basic purchases, never imagining that decades later, collectors would be eagerly searching for coins like these, especially those in high-quality condition. Now let's talk about the most important factor in determining a coin's value: the condition. The coin we're focusing on today is in extra fine condition, which is a significant step up from just good or fine. An extra fine coin still retains most of its original detail, with only minor signs of wear, usually on the highest points of the design. In the case of this 1937 penny, you'll see that Abraham Lincoln's portrait is sharp and well-defined, and the wheat stalks on the reverse are crisp. Extra fine coins are highly sought after because they have retained their beauty and character while showing only slight wear. In fact, the fine details on this 1937 penny are still visible and easy to appreciate, making it an attractive coin for collectors looking for quality. All right, now let's get to the exciting part. How much is this 1937 Lincoln Wheat penny worth today? In extra fine condition, the 1937 Lincoln Wheat penny typically sells for around $800 in today's market. While this isn't one of the most expensive pennies out there, its excellent condition makes it a desirable piece for collectors. Its value lies not only in the historical significance of the year, but also in the fact that it's one of the more well-preserved examples you'll find from the late 1930s coins in extra fine condition, particularly from this era, hold a special place in the market. While this particular penny may not reach the higher price ranges like some rarer dates, it is still a fantastic coin to own. Additionally, any unique color variations or toning could make it even more valuable to the right buyer. If you're looking to add a 1937 Lincoln Wheat penny in extra fine condition to your collection, there are a few tips I'd like to share. First, always buy from a reputable source, whether it's an online dealer or a local coin shop. When evaluating a coin like this, closely inspect the details on Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks to ensure it truly qualifies as extra fine. Next up, the 1970 Washington silver quarter without a mint mark, in extra fine condition. If you're curious about how much this classic coin is worth today, then stick around, because we're going to break it all down for you. The 1970 Washington silver quarter was minted at a time when the U.S. was experiencing significant historical events. The 1970s marked the end of the era of silver coinage in regular circulation, as the government transitioned to copper nickel-clad coins. This quarter, made of 90% silver, is part of a series that began in 1932 to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States. By 1970, however, the U.S. government had already begun removing silver from most circulating coinage due to the rising cost of the metal, with the Washington quarter becoming a key part of this transition. Now, let's take a look at the design features of this 1970 Washington quarter. On the obverse, we see the iconic portrait of George Washington, designed by artist John Flanagan. This image has graced the quarter since 1932 and remains one of the most recognizable depictions of Washington. The reverse of the quarter showcases an eagle, clutching an olive branch and arrows, a symbol of peace and strength. It's surrounded by the inscriptions United States of America, E pluribus unum, and $quarter. Now let's talk about the condition of this coin. This 1970 Washington silver quarter is in extra fine condition. Coins in this grade show only very slight wear on the high points, and the details of Washington's portrait, the eagle, and the inscriptions are all clearly defined. It's a beautiful example of a coin that has been well cared for over the years. In extra fine condition, the coin will show very few signs of circulation, making it significantly more valuable than one in lower grades like good or fine condition. A coin in extra fine condition is a great find for any collector. So how much is the 1970 Washington silver quarter worth in today's market, especially in extra fine condition? Well, the value of this coin depends on a few factors, including its grade and the demand for silver quarters in the market. In extra fine condition, the 1970 Washington silver quarter can range from about $30,000. The price is influenced by its silver content, which makes it valuable for both collectors and those looking to invest in precious metals. Of course, the condition is a major factor in determining its value. While this coin may not fetch hundreds of dollars like some rarer editions of the Washington quarter, it still holds decent market value as a collector's item. Thanks to its silver content and historical significance, collectors are particularly interested in Washington quarters like the 1970 silver version, because it marks the end of the silver era for regular circulation coins. As such, it appeals to people who are trying to complete a set of Washington quarters or those who have a special interest in U.S. silver coinage. Next up, the 1950 Lincoln Wheat penny, featuring a large date and no mint mark. This coin may not be one of the highest-priced pennies out there, but it certainly has its place in the hearts of collectors. Let's break it down and see what makes it so special and valuable in today's market. Let's start by taking a look at the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This coin is part of the iconic Wheat Cent series, which was produced from 1909 until 1958. On the obverse, you'll see the image of Abraham Lincoln, designed by artist Victor David Brenner, while on the reverse, the familiar wheat stalks symbolize America's agricultural heritage. What sets this particular penny apart is that it features a large date on the obverse. The large date refers to the size of the numbers in the year 1950. Some coins from this year were struck with a small date, but the large date version stands out as the more common type. The lack of a mint mark on this coin indicates that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, as coins produced there during this time didn't feature a mint mark. Let's take a moment to talk about the year 1950 and the historical context behind this coin. The early 1950s were a period of post-World War II prosperity in the United States. The economy was recovering, and people were spending more, which meant more pennies were in circulation. These pennies, like the 1950 Lincoln Wheat, were everyday currency used by millions of Americans in daily transactions. During this period, the United States was also moving away from the effects of the Great Depression and into an era of growth and consumerism. The 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a piece of that history, used by everyday people and now cherished by collectors. Now, let's talk about the condition of the coin. The 1950 Lincoln Wheat penny we're discussing today is in good condition, which means it shows signs of wear and use but still retains some of its key features. On this particular coin, the details of Lincoln's portrait are still fairly visible, although there's some smoothing around the high points, and the wheat stalks on the reverse are discernible, though not as sharp as they would be on a higher-grade coin. In good condition, you'll notice some wear on the edges of Lincoln's hair and along the wheat stalks, but the coin still has its character. These signs of wear don't detract from the coin's value as much as you might think, and in fact, the good condition grade makes it accessible for collectors who are building a more affordable collection. So, let's talk about the big question. What is this 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny worth today? In good condition, you can typically expect it to be valued between $700. While this isn't one of the highest value pennies in the Lincoln Wheat series, it's still a great coin to own, especially if you're interested in coins from the 1950s. It's worth noting that the 1950 large date penny is relatively common, so the price remains in this lower range for most coins in good condition. However, if you happen to find this coin in a higher grade like very fine or extra fine, the value can go up significantly. But for the most part, you'll be looking at the $900 range for a 1950 penny in good condition. If you're interested in adding this coin to your collection, here are a few tips to keep in mind. First, when purchasing coins like the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny, make sure to buy from a trusted source, whether it's an online dealer or a local coin shop. Always examine the coin carefully for its condition, especially focusing on key areas like Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks. Coins in better condition will fetch higher prices, so make sure to look for well-defined details. Also, don't forget to check for any unique toning or color variations, as these can add to the coin's appeal for collectors. Next up, the 1995 Washington Silver Quarter, featuring the large date and P mint mark in dirty condition. If you've got one of these quarters or are curious about its market worth, then stick around to find out how much it's worth today. The 1995 Washington Silver Quarter was minted as part of the U.S. Mint's series of quarters, featuring the famous portrait of George Washington. This particular coin, issued in 1995, is a clad quarter, meaning it's made from a copper-nickel mixture and not silver. However, it remains significant because it represents the continued tradition of honoring the nation's first president on the quarter. By 1995, the U.S. Mint had already moved away from silver coinage, but these quarters are still a popular choice among collectors because they represent an era where Washington's legacy was celebrated on the coin. Let's take a closer look at the design of the 1995 Washington Quarter. On the obverse, we see George Washington's portrait, designed by John Flanagan. This design has been the hallmark of the quarter since 1932. Washington is depicted in profile, facing left, with the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the year of mintage in this case, 1995. On the reverse of the quarter, we see an image of a majestic eagle clutching an olive branch and arrows, symbolizing peace and strength. Surrounding the eagle are the inscriptions, United States of America, e pluribus unum, and $quarter. Now let's talk about the condition of this particular coin. The 1995 Washington silver quarter in this video is in dirty condition, meaning it has visible dirt grime or tarnish that can be found on the surface. While these coins are still recognizable, the wear and dirt significantly affect their overall appearance. Coins in dirty condition generally show signs of extended circulation or poor storage, which impacts their aesthetic appeal. While not ideal for collectors seeking pristine examples, coins in dirty condition still have value, especially if they are sought after for their historical significance or scarcity. So, what's the market value of the 1995 Washington silver quarter in dirty condition today? Well, in dirty condition, the value can be somewhat lower than those in higher grades like extra fine or uncirculated. As of today, a 1995 Washington quarter in dirty condition would likely be valued anywhere between $1,000. This price is largely driven by its silver content and the general demand for these quarters among collectors and silver investors. Despite being in dirty condition, the 1995 Washington silver quarter still attracts interest from collectors. Coins like these are often sought after for completing collections, especially if they are part of a set of quarters from different years, or a series honoring Washington collectors. Often buy these quarters not only because of their design and history, but also because they contain silver, a precious metal that holds value over time. Even in less than perfect condition, the 1995 Washington quarter could be a great addition to a collection of silver coins. Next up, the 1982 Washington silver quarter, featuring the large date and D mint mark in dirty condition. If you've come across one of these or are curious about its value in today's market, keep watching. The 1982 Washington silver quarter was minted as part of the U.S. Mint's ongoing effort to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States. This particular coin, made of copper nickel-clad, features a large date and the D mint mark, indicating it was produced at the Denver Mint. Though the coin itself isn't made from pure silver, it's part of the Washington Quarter series, which has been in production since 1932. The 1982 Washington Quarter is part of the regular coinage at the time, but with the large date design, it's a coin that collectors find intriguing. Let's break down the design of the 1982 Washington Silver Quarter. The obverse of the coin features a portrait of George Washington, designed by artist John Flanagan. This classic image shows Washington in profile facing left, with the inscriptions, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the year of mintage in this case, 1982. On the reverse, we have a striking image of an eagle, with its wings spread wide, grasping an olive branch and arrows. This design, created by Herman A. McNeil, symbolizes the strength and peace of the United States. Surrounding the eagle are the inscriptions, United States of America, e pluribus unum, and $quarter now. Let's discuss the condition of the 1982 Washington Quarter. This particular coin is in dirty condition, which means it has visible dirt grime or tarnish on the surface. You can see some discoloration and other signs of wear, which might make it look less shiny compared to a freshly minted coin. While dirty condition coins may not be as visually appealing to collectors, they still hold value, especially if they are sought after for their rarity year or mint mark. Dirt or tarnish doesn't necessarily destroy the coin's value, but it can affect its overall appeal, especially when compared to coins in higher grades like mint state or proof. So, what's the market value of the 1982 Washington Silver Quarter with D mint mark in dirty condition today? Well, due to the dirty condition, the value is lower than coins in better condition. As of now, a 1982 Washington Quarter in this state is generally valued at around $400. The coin's value is influenced by a few factors, including the condition, the mint mark, and its metal content. Though this coin isn't made from pure silver, it still carries a nominal value due to the copper nickel-clad composition, as well as its historical and collectible appeal. Even in dirty condition, the 1982 Washington Silver Quarter still attracts interest from collectors. Many collectors are after quarters from different years to complete their sets. and the D mint mark adds to the uniqueness of this particular coin. Collectors often buy these coins as part of their Washington Quarter series, and they may also be interested in the coin for its mint mark and potential historical value. For those looking to complete their Washington series or accumulate specific mintage years, even a coin in dirty condition can still find a place in their collection. Next up, the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny with the large date and D mint mark. This particular penny is in very fine condition, and trust me, it has a lot to offer. We'll explore its historical significance, its unique features, and most importantly, its value in today's market. Let's get started. Let's take a close-up look at the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This coin features the familiar design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, created by Victor David Brenner, and on the reverse you'll find the iconic wheat stalks that gave these pennies their name. What sets this penny apart is the large date and the presence of a D mint mark, indicating that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. In 1958, the U.S. Mint produced two types of pennies, the small date and the large date. The large date version, which we have here, features larger numerals for the year 1958. The mint mark on this penny, the D, tells us it was made in Denver, and that mint mark is located just to the right of Lincoln's portrait. Let's rewind a little and talk about the historical context of this coin. By 1958, the Lincoln Wheat Cent series had been in circulation for nearly 5 decades. This particular year marks the very last of the Lincoln Wheat Pennies, as in 1959, the U.S. Mint introduced the Lincoln Memorial Cent. So, this 1958 penny represents the end of an era for U.S. coinage. 1958 was a year of change in the U.S. The country was in the midst of the post-World War II boom, and the economy was thriving. This penny would have been one of many circulating during that time, used by Americans for daily purchases, from groceries to gas. Now, let's talk about the condition of this coin. This 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny is in very fine condition. What does that mean exactly? In very fine condition, you'll notice that the coin retains most of its details, but the wear from circulation has softened some of the finer features. On the obverse, Lincoln's face still shows clear detail, but you'll see some light wear, especially on the high points of his hair and beard. The reverse, with the wheat stalks, also remains legible, though some of the finer details may have softened slightly. In very fine condition, this penny is still a solid example of a well-preserved coin. The details are strong enough that it stands out from lower-graded examples, and it's a desirable grade for collectors looking for something with a bit more life in it. Though it's not one of the rarest pennies out there, the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny with the large date and D mint mark is still valued for its condition and its place in the history of U.S. coinage. It's a great coin for collectors who focus on the later years of the Wheat Cent series. If you find this coin in an even higher grade, such as extra fine or mint state, the value can climb considerably. But for a very fine example, you're looking at the $2,000 range. It's also worth mentioning that if you find one of these pennies with unique toning or any errors, the price could go up even more. If you're looking to add a 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny in very fine condition to your collection, here are a couple of tips. First, always ensure you're buying from a reputable dealer, whether it's online or in person. Be sure to ask for documentation of authenticity if you're purchasing a high-value coin. When evaluating the coin, look closely at Lincoln's portrait. Even in very fine condition, the key features should be clearly visible. The wheat stalk should be legible as well, but you may see some light wear, which is expected in this grade. So there you have it, the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny, with the large date and D mint mark, in very fine condition. While this coin may not be a high-dollar rarity, it's certainly a great piece for any collection, especially for those focusing on the last years of the Lincoln Wheat Cent series. Thanks so much for tuning in to Valuable Coins. Next up, the 1977 Washington Silver Quarter, which features no mint mark, in good condition. We'll explore its historical significance, its design, and most importantly, what it's worth in today's market. So, let's get started. The 1977 Washington Silver Quarter is part of a series that has been honoring George Washington, the first president of the United States, since 1932. In the late 1970s, the U.S. Mint continued to produce these iconic quarters, featuring the same design that's become synonymous with Washington's legacy. This particular coin was minted in 1977, a year marked by economic change and significant cultural milestones. Unlike the earlier Washington quarters made from 90% silver, the 1977 quarters were made with a copper nickel-clad composition, a change that occurred in 1965. Still, these quarters carry value as a piece of U.S. history, and the 1977 version continues to intrigue collectors. Let's take a closer look at the design features of this quarter. On the obverse, we see a classic portrait of George Washington, facing left. This was designed by artist John Flanagan, and it's the same design that has appeared on Washington quarters since 1932. Surrounding the image are the words, "Liberty in God, we trust," and the year 1977. On the reverse of the coin, we have the depiction of an eagle with its wings spread wide, holding arrows and an olive branch. The reverse design was created by Herman A. McNeil, and it symbolizes peace and strength. You'll also see the inscriptions, United States of America, E pluribus unum, and $quarter. Now, let's talk about the condition of this coin. The 1977 Washington quarter we're focusing on is in good condition. A coin in good condition typically has some wear and tear, but it retains most of its design features. The coin may show signs of handling, such as light scratches, or some flattening of details, but it still remains a collectible item for enthusiasts. The coin's edges may have some wear, and the design on both sides might appear a bit softened due to circulation. However, the overall integrity of the coin is still intact, making it appealing to collectors who appreciate the history behind it. Now, let's get to the big question. What is the 1977 Washington quarter worth today in good condition? Well, its value isn't as high as some of the rarer or older Washington quarters, but it still holds some worth currently, a 1977 Washington quarter. In good condition is typically valued between $4 and $6 in today's market. The value can fluctuate slightly depending on demand, the specific condition of the coin, and the place where it's sold. Since the 1977 quarter was part of the regular circulation coins, it's not considered rare or scarce. However, collectors still seek out these coins for their historical value, especially for those building sets of Washington quarters. While the 1977 Washington silver quarter might not be the most valuable coin out there, it still attracts interest from collectors, especially those looking to complete their Washington quarter series or who collect coins from different mintage years. For many collectors, completing a collection of Washington quarters from every year is a big goal. Even though the 1977 quarter may not be rare, it's still a significant piece for those looking to add variety to their collection. Next up, the 1980 Washington Silver Quarter, featuring the D mint mark and in very fine condition. We'll explore the coin's history, design features, and most importantly, its current value in today's market. Let's dive right in. The 1980 Washington Silver Quarter is part of a long-standing series of quarters featuring George Washington, the first President of the United States. This quarter was minted in 1980, a year marked by economic challenges like high inflation and unemployment rates. But for coin collectors, the 1980 Washington quarter represents a key piece of American history. Now let's talk about the design. On the obverse of the coin, we see a classic portrait of George Washington, created by artist John Flanagan. This design has been used on Washington quarters since 1932, and it shows Washington facing left. Surrounding his image are the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the year 1980. On the reverse side, we have the iconic eagle, with its wings spread wide, clutching arrows and an olive branch. This reverse design, created by Herman A. McNeil, symbolizes strength and peace. You'll also see the inscriptions United States of America, E pluribus unum, and $quarter. Let's now take a look at the condition. The 1980 Washington quarter we're discussing today is in very fine condition. This means the coin has experienced some circulation, but the details of George Washington's portrait and the eagle on the reverse are still clearly visible and sharp. There may be some light wear, but the overall design remains strong, and the coin retains much of its original luster. So, what's the value of a 1980 Washington silver quarter with the D mint mark in very fine condition today? This quarter is not a rare coin, but its value is determined by factors such as its condition, demand among collectors, and its overall scarcity in certain conditions. Currently, in very fine condition, the 1980 Washington quarter typically values between $500 in today's market. It's worth noting that if the coin were in higher grades, such as extra fine or uncirculated, its value would be higher. But even in very fine condition, this coin is still an affordable yet valuable piece for collectors. Despite the fact that the 1980 Washington quarter is not among the rarest coins, it still holds collector interest. Many collectors focus on completing a set of Washington quarters from different years, including those from the 1980s. This quarter, being part of that series, makes it appealing to collectors who are building their collections year by year. In conclusion, the 1980 Washington silver quarter with the D mint mark, in very fine condition, is worth between $800 in today's market. While it's not a high-value coin, it's a fantastic addition for collectors seeking to complete a Washington quarter series or those interested in coins from this period of U.S. history. If you have any 1980 Washington quarters or any other interesting coins you'd like to share, drop a comment below. And if you want to learn more about rare and valuable coins, don't forget to subscribe to Valuable Coins for more in-depth videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting!